Hello, it is Monday, January 20th, Martin Luther King Day. This is Benoit's video journal. I need a name for this. What should the name be? Benoit Balls. About everything. Too provocative. Too provocative. The what? That was my college radio show. Well, for now, it's the yet-to-be-titled Benoit's video journal. I've been watching this series on film, a documentary tracing the entire history of film, and they talk about foreground in a couple different pieces of film and cinematography, and Citizen Kane is an example if you want to go look at some. And it's interesting to me, the perspective you can get about having stuff in front and breaking that foreground or not breaking that foreground really leaves a lot to the imagination, and I really want to play with that on stage and see how can you put something up front before the actors, before the performers, and still have a fully rounded performance that is still important and still focuses on the actor, the scenery, everything that you want in a performance, but how does holding something here affect that? And how does an actor play with it? Something that just thrills me. It's Tuesday, January 22nd, and I feel like a really bad poet with a goatee, beret, and black sunglasses. I need like a cigarette in one hand and a bad cup of coffee in the other. Kind of like this. Yeah, so remind me, not again. Don't look like this. Today I want to talk about some images I just have around my room, where I live, where I spend a lot of my time, and that inspire me and jazz me up to create. Did I just say jazz me up? Is this 1956? Number one is skulls. I have a lot of skulls. Too many skulls. Okay, the skulls were a headache, so the next things will have to go by quick. I also love masks and Bali. Comic books. Shakespeare. Folk music. I have a real one too. I have a lot of other influences too, from theater to everyday life to everything else. It's just some of the things sitting around my room that I could think of and that I enjoy. I want to keep this under my minute. I've slaughtered myself each day, so see you tomorrow. Hi everyone, it's Wednesday, January 22nd. Today I just want to talk more about some of my influences and things that I enjoy and some of the things that's happened to me today or the last few days. First up is music. Music is a huge part of my work. If you watch my senior show, which I will link to my face, so click my face if you want to watch. It's about 40 minutes, so if you have 40 minutes, go watch my senior show. It's based a lot in music, and it's something I enjoy. I love a number of different genres and just everything about it. It's something I don't have a talent for, so I appreciate that and love to implement it into my work. The next thing is surrealism. Salvador Dali and the surrealist movement is one of my favorites. I saw the Salvador Dali exhibit at the MoMA a few years back, and it was life-changing, especially the animation he did with Walt Disney called Destino. If you have a chance, search Destino on YouTube, and you'll see that as well. School-wise, there are two major things that are jumping out to me right now. The first is the meditation practice. It's something I've grown to enjoy, and it's something I started in undergrad, and I'm happy to continue now. Readings from Chogyam Trungpa and Pema Chodron and a number of other people, and just the teachings of Buddha. The one thing I want to talk about right now is the four immeasurables. You have equanimity, compassion, joy, and loving kindness, and just the cyclical nature of those and how the world, and I would be a better person if I could implement that into everything I do, including my work. Another thing is part of the mission statement, and reading through the Naropa mission statement and what the school wants to accomplish. Wendell Beavers a few years back did a response to this and what the MFA wants to come from that. And part of it he talks about is the service that acting and performing is at its best, and how if you be completely present and you're here, acting is a service, and that's something I want to exude in my performance. The last thing I want to talk about really quickly, because my minute window I've given myself is completely gone, is this articulated walking we did in devising practicum. And it was just this paying close attention to how your foot lands on the ground and moving and changing balance within yourself. It was phenomenal. I spent a half hour and I went maybe 20 feet, if that, and my brain was just firing off. And at first I was just in my body and just thinking about the movement, and then so many things arose from this, stories and ideas, and it was phenomenal. Something I never thought I would experience, and did in this little span of time, a half hour and 20 feet, and this whole world existed. See you all tomorrow. Hi everyone, it's Saturday, January 25th. Sorry I didn't do a video the last couple days. A1, didn't have anything really to say, and B, wasn't feeling all that well, was getting a head cold, and didn't really want to make a video. Right now I want to talk about extremism. I just read an article about this guy whose name is Ashin Wirathu, a Buddhist monk in Myanmar, Burma, who basically has incited a bunch of terrorist attacks against the local Muslims in Burma. And it's ridiculous. He thinks he's the hero, and I guess Neil Gaiman's quote of "no one's the villain in their own story" comes to mind. But I have nothing against devotion and being a strong religious advocate, but when you incite violence, you lose all faith. There's not a single religion in this world, maybe Satanism, that promotes violence as the top thing. You can argue all you want, but all religions say love first. Enough about that. What I really want to talk about right now is Rene Magritte, who's responsible for a number of different paintings that you would recognize. He's a Belgian surrealist painter, but the treachery of image is one of the things he worked with and is really interesting. And we worked with in class, in devising class the last time, and the idea that the pipe, this is not a pipe, but it's an image of a pipe. So what is a real pipe? Do you have to actually have a pipe for it to be a pipe? The parallels with acting are endless, which made me think of realism. The idea that something has to be completely real to be authentic and to be true theater, a neoclassicism at its finest. This idea that if an apple is eaten, it has to be a real apple. It has to have real coffee in the coffee maker. But you can only take that so far. You can only shoot an actor in the chest once before he dies. So where is that line drawn? Where is the balance between realism and telling a story? And at what tension do you have to hold these to create something? Or does there have to be a tension? Or can you acknowledge right up front, this is not a pipe? This isn't me. This is the digital ones and zeros of me. Is it okay to acknowledge that, and where do I as an artist want to find that line? Hi everyone, Sunday, January 26, 2014, the end of the first week of video journals. It was great. I'm loving this. It's a lot of work, but it's fun. I get to talk about what I love. Looks like we're going to be about 9 minutes. If that's too long, let me know. The whole 4 people that are watching this, but whatever. Yeah, next week I'm going to talk about more ideas I have to perform and things that I want to try on stage and like that. So see you next week.